Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Life Inner Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Inner Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. I'm joined by Polish Peter. What's up, dude?
Hola, senor.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you just got back from Mexico, man. Like, I'm surprised you weren't detained at the border. Yeah.
They let me back in. Can you imagine? I'm still like beyond myself.
Well, I need to get some money back then because, like, clearly this didn't work.
Didn't work, so you sent. So
I
you got
tried to pay off.
All right.
Yeah, I tried to pay off some people to like detain you.
Hey, maybe I got better connections than you do.
You could, apparently so, man. Well, hey, dude. Speaking of connections, we got Eddie Weller in today's episode, man. Like I met Eddie probably 10 years ago. Lives in St. Louis. My first exposure to him was as an upper cervical chiropractor, but he's done so much more since then. It's been cool to catch up with him.
Yeah, man, I love this interview. There's so much energy, so much awesome, powerful information on here, from all the way from the upper cervical conversation that we had to time, to health, to relationships, to marriages,
all of it.
And
man. This is an awesome episode.
He talked about the top 3 questions that he asked every single patients, and he's had over 11,000 patients, and the common denominator is that he sees among all of them. So I am so excited for you guys to listen to this interview and break out the notepad. I mean, start taking some notes while you're listening to this.
For sure. Let's do it now, dude. Here's our interview with Dr. Eddie Weller. Eddie, what's up, man? Welcome to Life Inner Show.
Hey, appreciate you guys. What's up?
Great to see you again, man. It's been a while. I am so excited to have you sharing with our audience, man. Tell our people a little bit about yourself. And I know, listen, by the way, I know it's a completely loaded question because you are a Renaissance man. You have many things going on. Where I first started learning about you was with the upper cervical chiropractic work, but I know you've expanded into many things since then. So give people a brief background of kind of who you are and what you're up to.
Sure. Well, gosh, I'm originally from Chicago. Don't hate me, people. I'm originally from Chicago. I currently now live in St. Louis. Married. I have 2 kiddos, 10 and 12, unvaccinated, chemical-free kids. Like my kids have never had McDonald's. That kind of kids.
Wow, man.
Never. No fast food.
Are they still in the basement? Or do you let them out? Or
not yet. Not yet. I throw them food. I throw them organic food in the cage, and so it's
all right. Carrots, yeah.
Right.
No, we get to live and we have fun. But it's that kind of stuff. Grew up and struggled terribly in school, and I graduated high school at a 3rd grade reading level. I was that kid, and I got a 10 on my ACT. Aren't you guys excited? I'm on the show now, and so
hey, man.
I didn't do much better on my ACTs, man. I think English was like -5.
Yeah, but you had an excuse. I didn't have an excuse. I was born here. Hold
on though, Eddie. Why are you successful now and Peter's still Peter?
That's for Peter to
I see. Okay, you're gonna go there. All right. Let's continue.
Yeah, you're right. I was gonna say something in Polish, but I'll be nice. We're on the air. It was interesting growing up. I suffered with irritable bowel. So from age 17 to 23, started having some really bad digestive issues. And like I said, graduated high school at a 3rd grade. I had a 1.9 grade point average. Moved down to Florida from Chicago to be a cop. I was going to the in with the DEA. I was going to be that gig. I'd be a great cop because my fuse is pretty darn long. But anyway, so it's I met this woman down there. She was young, actually, a girl, I should say. She's 18. I was 20, and I started to date her. And I met her father. Her father moved a bone on my neck, and I went from C's and D's to A's and B's in school, and irritable bowel was gone. And I'm like, what's going on here? And it was all response to my nervous system. And that's how I got involved in doing the type of care that I do, that's upper cervical chiropractic. So it's fast forward to today. I'm in my 12th practice. I just recently started my 11,000th patient after 24 years. And it's been unbelievable. It's been unbelievable. So I got several different companies and not-for-profits that I run. And yeah, I just like having fun and hang out with cool people like
Dude,
you guys.
That's awesome, man. That is awesome. And so just for people who have never heard of upper cervical care chiropractic, just give people the premise of why that's so important and how that can have such a dramatic effect in people's lives.
Sure. I'm aging myself a little bit, but if you remember a guy named Christopher Reeve, Superman, he was an actor. He was an actor that, again, plays Superman. He was riding a horse. One of his horses gets bucked off the horse, hits his head, and then breaks his neck. He couldn't breathe on his own, digest food on his own, go to the bathroom on his own, moves arms and legs on it. I mean, every one of his systems shut off at one location in his body because every nerve in the entire body meets at the base of the skull. And so I work with that top vertebrae. Our spine is broken up into 3 parts: cervical spine, thoracic spine, and lumbar spine. upper cervical is the cervical spine here. And so this is what I work with to make sure literally that your head is sitting properly on the spine, but more importantly, that your nervous system is uncompromised. So it's functioning free of any distortion. And because the body's made to take care of itself. And so if the body's made to take care of itself, then why isn't it? Why are people getting sick? And so there's many different reasons, but I start with the neurologic one. So I make sure the nervous system's working the right way. And then from there, we talk about all the other health attributes. And so, yeah, that's why it's most important.
Well, and it's been
the main of our house.
Yeah. Well, and it's been perplexing for, I think, a lot of people to see the variety of different ailments that have been corrected by adjustments. And in fact, I know that you have attracted your share of people who have been, cautiously speculative as to like, is this for real? How can this be true? Sure. And yet at the same time, you have a pretty large following and pool of people who have seen dramatic results in their own lives.
I mean, just yesterday, I had a couple fly in from Fort Myers that are part of Life in Air. And they, spent, 4 hours with me, figuring out all the different things, and game changer. I mean, they were in yesterday morning, like, this is nuts. You just moved a bone one time. I'm like, it's not the bone, it's what's inside of it. If there's an intelligence in our body that's beating our heart and we can hear, we can see and digest food and the millions of things going on, something is in control of that. It's your nervous system. And it's always interesting. They call it the neurologic system. Well, there's a logic in the nerve. Who put the logic there? God did. That's how the body's been made. And so this wisdom resides within the nervous system. So it would make sense to make sure your nervous system's functioning the right way. And so, yeah, I don't heal. I just work for the healer, right? And it just is how this works.
And is there, just out of curiosity, I know we didn't plan on going too far down this path, but is there, how's the data and the research looking on this? Or is this always just going to be something that like, hey, it's just like, you look at almost any human study and there's so many diverse influences and factors that have an effect. It's almost going to be impossible to show scientifically. And it's just going to be simply anecdotal evidence that people have seen the results and they believe it works because sometimes people are just looking for, people look for proof of everything, right? And
sure.
That's just
I love this question. Because my profession's not a huge fan of me because of the fact I get escorted. The school I went to here in St. Louis, they escort me off campus.
Wow.
Really?
Yep. Just because of the fact that I question what they're doing. Again, I met my wife on Match.com. My wife's an attorney. She's a work comp attorney. She knows science and she knows doctors. That's what she does all day long. We graduated, she's 24 years in is who she is. We graduated college the same year. And I met her online. A match. So I'm in Chicago. I've got 3 offices running and she's in St. Louis. We're going back and forth. And she's like, so what do you do? I says, I'm an upper cervical chiropractor. She goes, oh, chiropractic. I kill you guys in court. You have no data. Right. I'm like, I would love to show you what I've got. And so I take 3D imaging. God bless the profession I'm in, but most of them, yeah, you're really out over here. Like that's not a gauge because what you feel is very different than what I feel. So I wrote a textbook on infrared thermography. It's to unify the profession. And so I have an instrument. I had my staff, my assistant. So I have an instrument that I run up your spine objectively, not what I feel. The instrument will let me know neurologically what's going on with your spine. And within seconds, your spine pops up onto the computer screen and says, hey, this nerve is bad. This one's being aggravated. This one's okay. And so now I have some sort of objective assessment. Then I take 3D, it's called CBCT, 3D imaging, and I get a 3D image of your spine, and I can show you exactly structurally what your spine's looking like. So now I have a structural image, and I have a neurologic data. I've got data. The best part about it is after the adjustments made to the spine, I do another neurologic exam and show you before and after what you look like.
Wow,
and so there's
awesome.
proof. And so that, again, to your point, is there isn't any assessment in the profession and what they're teaching. And I don't know why. It's here. The technology is here. It's been around in the chiropractic profession since 1935. And so if it's been around that long, why aren't we using that? Because there's this politic game and this money game and this student loan garbage insurance game. And that's what's happening. So like I said, I wrote a book. I made up for all the all the book reports, Peter, that I didn't do as a kid.
See, there we
so
go.
I wrote a book that's 200, almost 300 pages. Another doc with me, we co-authored this book and put this book together. And I'm going after the profession. I am in the next 2 weeks going to be the Gary V of chiropractic. I am going to unload.
Rock on, dude.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love it.
man. That's awesome.
And again, it's not an Eddie Weller thing. It's a science thing. Our profession needs to unify. How you adjust the spine is one thing, but how are you assessing the spine is another. Data. I love data. Again, like the blood work company, when I do all the data, we draw 14 vials of blood. I get 60 pages of data about you. No doctor's doing that. And that's available. Why don't they do that? Because they do it based on what insurance tells. So I don't do it on insurance. Mine's less than $1,000 and you get 60 pages. You know everything about you. Why wouldn't you do that for your health? And so again, I love objective data. And so, yeah.
Well, dude, that's awesome because you tied this into the blood stuff, but like one of the things I think that's a challenge is there's so much subjectivity that, and you can look at subjectivity and not measuring things and so many different areas of your life, and like none of them are good. Like, if you stop looking at your percentage body fat, or if you stop looking at your investments, like, hey, I'm not getting this ROI, and hey, this ad isn't working in my marketing. Like, you need data. And so
numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I guess there's some that you could say there's a selective process to make sure that you're making sure you're looking at the right data, but certainly having that data and then discerning among the different parameters to make sure that you're looking at the right things is way better than having no data. Sure. And
I get both sides too. Excuse me, because I had a woman start with me, and then part of her new patient paperwork was her suicide note. She's 63 years old. She brought me her suicide note. This was a few months ago. And I sit down with her. I said, you understand that your serotonin levels in your brain that help control your emotions, 95% of your serotonin levels live in your colon. It's called the brain gut axis. In your brainstem that rests right at the base of the skull controls heart, lung, and colon. How do I know? Because I lived on a toilet for 7 years. And so it'll change everything. And so I move a bone in this lady's neck. 2 weeks later, she sends me flowers. I can't believe I thought the way I did. You've saved my life. And I'm like, It's not me. It's just the intelligence inside of you, right? It just is made to express itself. We should all die of old age, man, not a condition.
Yeah.
But we don't. And we're all going to die of something because our car, this thing we're living in, something's going to break. That's just how it works. Right. And so until then, why not do the best you can with what you have? And that's how I live, and that's why I always tell everybody, really, what's the most important part of the car? All of it. Because without each part, you can only have a car. And so we've been programmed, doctors, there's a doctor for this part. There's a doctor for that part. There's a doctor for this part. Well, there's a doctor for all of your parts inside of you. It's called your nervous system. Because when the sperm and the egg met, one cell was formed and everything about you was in that one cell, and it split and it split and split. 9 months later, there you are. How did that happen? Because that's how God did it. So it's, I love talking to different specialists, doctors that come see me, they're under care. And I just started this medical doctor, and I said, hey, I have a question for you. Every 6 weeks, you have a new liver. He's like, yeah. I said, so what happens to the old liver? Where'd it go? And nobody has the answer. I don't have the answer, but the body knows. It recycles it. We get rid of it some way, but we know physiologically you have a new liver every 6 weeks, blood every 4 months. Where's the old blood go? It's unbelievable.
The mystery, it's pretty fascinating when you really sit down and think about it, like the complexity of just the human body in every organ and every system and every cell. It's beyond comprehension. Are you?
It is.
I was just gonna say, is the big play for you here? You're looking at these different aspects of health and wellness, and is the big play like longevity here, and playing into making sure people don't die prematurely?
I got together with a bunch of different investors and people kind of feeling Eddie Weller out a little bit. And my buddy's like, Eddie, pitch the room. And so I get up and stand up in front of this room and talk about this thing about getting Weller, right? And even though it's my last name, I don't use it as that. It's just a brand. I don't do eddieweller.com. I just because you're always in the process of getting Weller. You're never well, right? You never stop working out, ideally. You never stop brushing your teeth. You never stop watching your money. You shouldn't. You never stop praying, right? It's just a lifestyle. And so if you're always in that process, then what are you doing about that thing that's keeping you from being you? And I think that's where a lot of people focus on what's wrong with them versus what's right with them. And to me, again, we were talking a little bit earlier, it's really all about the time. How much time are you spending with the thing that you love? You know what I mean? I was talking to a gentleman earlier. I was at the gym this morning, and he's standing next to me. He's like, hey, man, what's going on? He goes, I got 2 more days left. I'm like, of what? He goes, I get a week off. I'm like, of what? He goes, I got to go to work. I freaking can't stand it anymore. I'm like, wow. I mean, what a miserable existence, right? Of doing something that you don't. And he's a police officer, and the way he's being treated now in the city is just not good. And he's like, it's not the same, man. It's not the same. And so we're talking. I'm like, why live a life of not enough? Like, help me out right now. I mean, you're stuck. And what happens is you get stuck in this thing called time. I've put so much time into this. I feel guilty, and other people have an expectation of me, but I feel guilty of me making a shift from my life, you know? And that's initially when I met, Sean and Steve way back in the day, talking about how do you get rich in life? What does that mean? You know what I mean? Where you're this millionaire or lifeonaire, and I love the concept. And again, what does that mean for you? Because my problem's a big deal, brother, because it's my problem. Your problem's a big deal because it's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
So on the flip side, my success is a big deal because it's my success. Your success is a big deal because it's your success. You know what I mean? And so I can't want any more for you than what you want for yourself. And that's one of the things that I find as a doctor, that when I sit down with people, I sit down with them to try to get on the same page. And I tell every one of my patients, they sit down, I don't know if you know this about me, but I have a genie bottle. And I go in the back closet and I'll get my genie bottle and I rub this bottle and the genie comes on out. And it's going to ask you one thing about your life that you want different or change. What is that? I've been asking that question for 11,000 patients later, 24 years. I've been asking that same question. What do you want for you? So I'm on the same page as you, because my expectations as a doctor might be very different than yours.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So how do we get on the same page? I also believe this is how marriages fail, because marriages don't have that conversation. What do you want for your life? So I created this thing called a love list for marriages. And it's really cool. It helps people qualify and quantify their time of what they want to do with it. You know what I mean? People are like, I don't have time to work out. No, you do. You're just not choosing to. That's all. We all have time to do what we want to do. I remember talking with Robert Herjavec of Shark Tank.
Yeah.
And so I'm talking to Herjavec, and he's like, you know what, Eddie? You know what's the difference between your clock and my clock? I'm like, what? He goes, nothing. What I do with my time is what I choose to do with my time. What you choose to do is what you choose to do with it. But don't make fun of somebody else or feel less than because somebody else maximizes their time and you're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so it's a big deal. And I was talking to my wife, because like I say, I have a 10 and 12-year-old. When you're young, way, way young, and you get in trouble, we put you in timeout. When you get a little bit older and you're, middle schoolish, that kind of thing, what happens? What's going on? Somebody printing things? Okay. And so it's okay. And so when we get a little older and something happens, what do? We get grounded. And if you're really, really bad, right? And if you're really bad and something happens, you get arrested, you go to jail. Know what that punishment is? I'm taking away your time.
Time. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
it.
How true.
And so now flip it the other way. Let's say you're not in trouble, but you're doing a job and you're doing a task in which you don't want to do, and you don't want to do that because I'm obligated of my time. I went to school. I got my degree. I'm supposed to do this thing. Why? That's not what I want to do. You know how many people I know went to college that don't use that degree? Mm-hmm. It's craziness. You just wasted time and money. And so when people in our world, when somebody says, don't waste my time, we think that's ego. That's not ego. That's respecting my time. And so I really think about all the things that I like to get involved with. If it doesn't bring me fun, man, I don't do it. This brings me fun, right? I love doing this kind of stuff and talking to people like you guys. It brings me fun. It's how I get rich in life. And people, my grandmother would always say, Eddie, do you ever have a bad day? Yeah, I'm just not going to tell you, because shame on me because my problem's a big deal because it's my problem. There was a lady that was in last week and we're sitting down talking. This was actually yesterday. And we're talking and we're chit-chatting. She's just like, oh, traffic was going crazy. My kids were acting up with this and that. And I said, okay. And she was hot, like mad, frustrated at her kids in the morning because her time was thrown off because her kid made a mess in the house and she had to clean it and on and on. And I go, you see that couple over there? And they said, yeah. I said, so, and I shut my door. I said, they can't have children. They would love your problem. And just like that, right? Shift. Just like that. And so we just have to put things in a little bit of perspective of going, I don't have a problem. I'm taking care of a guy that's, 21 years old and he had a sporting injury, had a stroke, and he's a complete vegetable. He's 21 years old and mom's a 24-hour caretaker. 21 and he just sits like this. And so he comes on in and he's doing great with me. He's just awesome. But again, you want to complain how? Like what right now? Shame on you. So I
heard somebody once. Yeah, I heard somebody once say that if we all sat in a circle and we all put our problems into a pile in between us, every single one of us will take our problems back.
Right. Oh, would we ever? Because my problem's
So-
a big deal because it's my problem, but I can fix my problem gets fixed. It's easy. You know what I mean? So, some people like, oh, you don't have any hair. Good. I don't want any freaking hair. You got shampoo. Enjoy yourself. That's a problem for some people. Why? They put a toupee on, or they grow it over and they comb it over. Right. And so it's everybody's problems.
I think Vojo tried that for a while. It didn't work.
Yeah.
Come over, disappeared.
Yeah,
So listen, I'm curious because you mentioned something earlier that you asked a single question, the Genie question, that, 11,000 patients now. Do you see any common denominator among the answers that they give you?
I mean, it's great. I mean, phenomenal question, Peter. So I get both sides. I get the physical one, and then I get the emotional one. But most of the time, people want to be heard.
Huh.
And I noticed that a bunch. I do a lot more coaching than I do anything else. Yes, I do the chiropractic thing, but boy, I do a ton of coaching. As I'm stepping a bunch out of practice right now. I'm doing more of the speaking and teaching. And so I'm just going, people want to be heard. I mean, how many times you sit down with your doctor and the medical doctor's taking notes and it's like, I don't have a relationship with you. I'm just this, this number thing. And at the end, you're going to give me a diagnosis and I have two options, drugs and surgery. It's not healthcare, it's disease care. But most people want to be heard. It's so crazy. I asked a question the other day. This guy's miserable about his work and he's with his wife. And I said, I'm going to give you $100 million on one condition. You have to work 30 hours a week to do whatever you want to do. No matter, I don't care if it's picking up dog poop in the backyard. You get paid $100 million. I don't care. I don't care what it is. What do you do every day? He goes, you give me $100 million right now? Says, yeah. He goes, I'd find the best attorney and get divorced to her. I'm like, wow. Like, okay, here we go.
Not the answer you expected.
No. I'm like, all right, we're going to make a little shift here. I got 15 minutes. We're going to figure this out right now. And she's like, what? He's like, yeah, you do this, you do that. You're only with me because I make money. You do this. I'm like, holy cow, here we go. And so again, we don't know that until we ask the questions. This is why coaching is such a big deal. I have certain issues with coaching because a lot of people take a weekend seminar and all of a sudden they're a coach master. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh my gosh, no, it takes training. It's like martial arts or anything else, playing an instrument, it's training. And so it's, but when you do have coaches, right? I have several people in my life that I've asked in my life to keep me accountable. And so with that, I think most couples don't know how to have a coach and they have a really hard time putting God in the middle of their conversations, but they need a coach together, at least a vision or a why. You know what I mean? So it's when people don't have their why, like every business should have their vision and mission statement, right? Do you have that for your personal life? Most don't. And so this is why I'm working on this platform, Getting Weller. So Getting Weller has the upper cervical chiropractic side, the nerve side. It has the It's More Than Health side, which is the blood work. So you can fuel you the right way. And then I'm part of this gym where I exercise. So now you can take care of your physiology. And now I've got this coaching side where I've teamed up with a bunch of different coaches that are jumping on board, relationships coach, emotional coach, spiritual coach. So people can figure out physically, emotionally, spiritually about them. Yeah. I call it Getting Weller. Well, man, healthy body, healthy mind, healthy relationships.
I mean, they're all related, right? And that's why, like, for instance, Life and Air, we have, you have your life and your vision, you have relationships, friends, family, health, finances, business, spiritual, hobbies, all personal, all these different things, because people, I think, and you see this as well, as people segment them without recognizing the overlap and the contribution of each. So for instance, you're talking about the physical stuff, but you also mentioned relationships. Well, guess what? If your relationship with your husband or wife is terrible, that could affect your health very easily.
Oh, I can prove it 50 times.
Yeah. So I'm totally on board with you, man. The one thing that I want to touch on for a second though, you mentioned like, hey, my problem is my problem, your problem is your problem. But in fact, that's true. But also we see that if people aren't pursuing being healthy or being well or whatever term we decide to use, that affects other people too. Like, so maybe our success is our success, but that success affects the people around us, and so do our problems. And so there's also, I'd say, like maybe an ethical responsibility or a spiritual responsibility to address those things if we have the desire to make the most of the impact in the circles that are surrounding us.
Totally. I always say that, I tell this to everybody and everyone that I meet. I, Eddie Weller, am the most important person in the world to me, because when I take care of me, then I can serve others. Because if I'm not well, physically, financially, emotionally, spiritually, then I'm a burden to others then. Mm-hmm. So it's not egotistical. It's all about serving. And if God put you here for an intention and reason right now at this time, and if that's the case, then what are you doing with your time? I saw this really cool guy on the streets. He was telling the story. It was a TikTok. And he said, if I give you $86,400 every single day, and you have to spend it every single day, because at the end of the day, all the money's gone. And then tomorrow, the very next day, I'm going to give you another $86,400, and you get to spend that every single day. How do you spend it? And that's how many seconds we have in the day, right? And so when we think on that, how much time do we have in the day? 86,400. What are you doing with that? So I focus on taking care of me. People have asked me, Eddie, why aren't you in your office 5 days a week? Because I don't want to be. That's not my vision. It's not what I want. I'm in the office on Mondays and Thursdays. Soon, in the next few months, I will be in the office twice a month. Why? Because there's other things that I'm doing to help more and more people. I want to serve more people. And I was thinking real quick on a business tangent. I had a thought the other day. I was kind of talking to God a little bit. I'm like, wow, we heard of MLMs, right? Network marketing. And every business has, your CEO, president, and it kind of tears down from there. And I was thinking, what was the best business model ever? Thinking, this guy walked the earth and talked about hope and intention in his father. And then he invited 12 of his friends to the table. And those 12 friends told other people, and those people told other people. And so Christ had the best business model ever, right? So he talked about, here's Jesus, the CEO. And then all of a sudden I got 12 people in my downline. And then from there, it's just spider web. And 2,000 years later, here we are.
Talk about network marketing, eh?
Right.
Millions of people in your down. Talk about, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hey, man, talk to me about a second. Like, let me just rewind you for a second. You're talking about investing in you, because if you're not able to do that into yourself, you can't help other people. Talk to me about the guilt that I see people struggle with when they hear something like what you just said. They may feel selfish. They may feel like, and listen, I don't want to.
The big word, Wojo, is inadequate. Well, I can't do it like you, so I'm already defeated before I start.
Well, I think of a lot of moms, for instance, like, and this is nothing against dads or anybody else, but moms are people who put everybody else aside, everybody else in front of themselves. How do you help someone change that mindset of being like, hey, I got to take care of my kids. I'm dropping this off. I got to do this. And it's all about everybody else except them. But at the same time, what they're doing is their own reserve tanks, their own gas tanks are becoming empty, and they're not able to be the mom they want to be, or the dad or whoever. Like, how do you help somebody through that?
I use the analogy that you've probably heard a million times, and people need to be reminded of it. If the plane is going down and there's an oxygen tank that pops down, you put yours on first, and then you take care of your kids. And moms don't do that, right? And so moms take care of others first, and then they're burning their candle, and all of a sudden they've got nothing left in their tank. And so sooner or later, that's why I asked the mom, like, sooner or later, something's going to happen to your car, which means your thyroid's going to malfunction. You're going to have a heart attack. You're going to have a colon issue. You're going to have a kidney. Something has to shut down. You're driving your race car in the red. A belt's going to go. You're going to blow a valve. You're going to blow a tire. Something's going to happen. And so why not prevent that so you take care of you? I love when my wife gets up in the morning and we go to separate places to work out at times, and she's over, working out. She's having me time doing the best things she can for herself. We make food together. We do that. Talk to God together, those kind of things. Talk finances together. What does that mean? And I don't know why finances are such a struggle for people to, have a conversation with. You're spending money on this, or you do that. And I'm like, because at the end, your hearse doesn't have a freaking hitch, right? You can't take this with you. And so if that's the case, then what are you doing about your life and your finances? Do you need all of this stuff? Because at the end, all I want is more time. That's it. And so it's how you spend it. So I address that with moms. About 80% of my practice is female, because moms make the healthcare decision for the house. Guys suck. Guys are like, dude, my shoulder hurts.
Hey.
My shoulder hurts. I need a shot, or cut it off. I got to go to work tomorrow.
Right.
Women want to know. Women want to know why. Women are the proactive of why. It also depends on what kind of personality style you are too. But again, when I teach people of who's the driver, what's the why. Like I said earlier, I created something called a love list, and it's 3 questions. If you're a listener, I'm telling you, just write these down. These are the top 3 things I want from my life, me. These are the top 3 things I want from my life. And then next question, these are the top 3 things I want for my spouse. And then the next question, these are the top 3 things I want for my children. And what you do is you have these on 2 different sheets of paper, 2 different colored pens. This is how I teach people to create a vision mission statement together. And so what you do is you go in that room, and you write those things down. without saying a word to each other. You go back into the kitchen, whatever, put your paper face down. They turn theirs face down, switch papers, and you have a different colored pen, and you write underneath their desires how you as a spouse is going to help them attain that. You want to talk about coming together, man, right? I have stopped countless divorces on that exercise in my office. They're in the process. I can't stand each other. It's not the same anymore. I'm writing a relationship book. One day I'll finish that, Katie. I swear, my assistant's here. But it's called it's called Why Does I Do Mean I Won't? That's the title. And again, why does I do mean I won't? Because in the beginning, everything's perfect, and because you've never created a vision of why for each other. Health has to be part of that. And again, all of those little spokes on that fun wheel of physically healthy, emotionally healthy, spiritually healthy, right? And so we don't give ourselves enough time to allot to those things. How much time do you, like, I love going to the botanical gardens. I walk the gardens. I got married in the rose garden, but I walk the gardens. Why? Because it's my time. That's why I get to hang some guy time. I also bring couples there and friends there that are struggling, and we walk and we figure things out. I go to the gym. I play like mad with my kiddos. I am all in. We do dancing, hip hop. My son's in the junior PGA. We travel the country doing golf, right? I make sure that my wife is taken care of in any way, shape, or form, because when you take care of others, as Tony Robbins once said, right? You want time, give it. You want money, give it. You want love, give it. And so if you give, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome, dude. Hey, man, I know we're running short on time here, but how can first of all, dude, I want to acknowledge you for all the awesomeness you bring to people and just your heart for serving people and others, and your skill, and you've backed it up with resources and skills and the community. How do people learn more about what you're doing?
Oh boy. Hear that, Katie? Yeah. I'm changing the platform, like I said, of Getting Weller. It's an easy way to find me, just to kind of see on the chiropractic side what I'm doing. I've got this not-for-profit, Chalk to Clay. During the pandemic, my kids and I started sidewalk chalk, did these huge Christian murals, and it snowballed into the newspaper and the TV and the police department, all taking pictures. And that grew into meeting somebody in Pakistan, teamed up with him, and I literally own right now 44 children are in a home that are orphan kids. Their parents were killed or left abandoned. Pakistan is a rough place, man. We have no problems in this country. Holy cow, it's a rough place. So I got involved in that, chalktoclay.com. People can donate to that. $100 feeds 19 children for a month.
Wow.
And not just crackers, like food. Right.
Yep.
$100. And so, we as Americans can't understand that because, you see this commercials, for 43 cents a day, you can take care of this. I'm like, how do you do that? Oh, I can show it to you 50 times, man. I am more than involved with these kids. So they now have a school, home, and a church, stunning building that the not-for-profits put together. So it's cool. And, the blood work thing is a big deal for people. I love the blood work because I was having, as a doctor, some health issues. So I put this blood work program together for me. And so right now we're really close to launching, but you can come check it out. It's called itsmorethanhealth.com. So it's a blood work program panel tailored to you, and it's all customized to you. It's really cool. You see some videos of me explaining the importance of it. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome, dude. Well, hey, man. Well, I'm very grateful for you. I appreciate you being on the show, man. And I know our listeners love it too.
Yeah, thank you. I'd come back anytime, man. So I appreciate you guys.
Dude, talk about high energy, man. That guy, I mean, I can only imagine how much this guy lives every moment of life, just full out.
Yeah, I mean, that's the important thing, because you talked about time, and how much time we have and how we take care of time. The difference between someone who takes advantage of it and someone who's kind of squanders it. And he's the kind of a person that goes full out to. And the important aspect, he takes care of himself first. And dude, for some people, it looks like a selfish. What's that?
That's big. That's big.
Yeah, because for some people, it looks like a selfish thing, but you put it in the right way. Like if you take care of you first, now you're able to serve, whether it's your family, whether it's your husband or wife or people around you or in business.
I know, man. And I think there's probably at some point a fine line of like, hey, I am like, you got responsibilities and obligations in life, and we're not saying to ignore those at all. But I think so many people have this attitude of everybody else has to come first. And when your tank is empty, like you can't be the best dad or mom or friend or husband or wife, like, because you're just run ragged, like you're stressed out, you have no reserves left, and you're gonna be compromised, right? Whether it's you can't help somebody to the extent you want to, or you get sick. right? And it wears you down that way, or something happens. Like, so I think that's really important. And, you know, his high energy is probably, if you think about it, the result of a couple of things. One is being healthy, which is super important, right? Because if you're tired all the time, and, you know, we talk about this in life events, man, like, you know, if you work at something you're not passionate about, and you do that like 5 out of 7 days a week, it's going to wear on you. It's going to suck the life out of you. And like, that's not an existence. You're just kind of, I guess you are existing, but you're not like living. Right. And so you got to really do that. And so it's probably a whole lot easier to have high energy when you love what you do, when you're healthy, when you feel passionate about getting to live every day and experiencing time in a way that serves you, rather than you feel like you're doing time, right? Like you mentioned, like doing time when you're really bad, you're doing time. It's just they all kind of work together.
Yeah. And you know what, a couple important aspects I think that I've got from this too is, one, like we just talked about, taking time for yourself. I think there is an important distinction that needs to be set here, because I think what he's talking about is taking time for you to work on you in order to serve. So there is that mindset shift where you're talking about, I got to take care of me so I can serve. Whereas some people are looking, I got to take care of me for me, and it's me, it's all about me. And that's not the right way. So I think there's an important distinction that we need to put in here. A second part that I've heard from here is like how important the vision is. You know, he talked about the vision, and it's so important to be clear, and especially in relationships and marriages, it's so important to have that clear vision to where you're going after. Because now how you spend your time, what you do in your time, and how you take care of he talks about his body being a car. That's a great analogy, by the way, because you have all these different parts that you need to take care of to make sure that you'll be able to serve the world, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, it's, you know, for instance, you know, Eddie's been around Life in Air for a while, and it's so cool to see the overlap here. And, you know, we talk, like, for instance, the Get a Life Getaway, when spouses come to this event, we're like, hey, create your own individual visions first, and then we'll combine them. We'll compare them. We'll create a marriage or a relationship vision. You know, and I talk about this as well as, like, you know, Peter, you've heard me say, having a vision for who your perfect spouse is going to be, maybe before you even have one, right? Like before, when you're single, we've talked about that before, like having a vision for that, you know, having a vision for your health. Like what is health to you? You know, someone on this line right now, being healthy means having great blood work. For somebody else, is having 6-pack abs and be able to run 10 miles. Like, I mean, it's so different for everybody, but you got to take the time to do that. That's why we take 3 days to dive into this Get a Life Getaway. It's not something you can easily sit down and figure out for yourself. And from that vision, now all those other things kind of snowball. Like, you know, if you don't have for instance, let's say you want to be healthy, but it's kind of like I'd like to be healthy, cool to be healthy, I'd love to feel good. But if you don't have a strong why, you're just not going to do it. Right. It's just too easy not to do it. So you need that reason as well.
Yeah. And you know, you can tell from him that he's got a strong why behind what he's doing, man.
Yeah.
I know that for a few years too, and I just love the ability I was able to get to know him a little bit and come in contact with him and be able to support him in whatever he's doing. I mean, he didn't have a time to talk about this, but the whole story of that nonprofit that he has and how he met the guy from Pakistan is incredible. I mean, it's crazy how it all came together and what he's able to do now and help the orphans over there and things like that. So, I mean, yeah, it's an amazing story, and I'll encourage you guys to listen. Take from this interview something that's going to benefit you in such a tremendous way that you can take on for yourself and start somewhere. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
Start taking on the time, whatever it might be, and you might start seeing some amazing changes in your life.
Well, and one other thing I want to say is, like, I think when you take time consistently to work on yourself, whether it's you're praying, you're meditating, you're reading, you're working out, you're building relationships, whatever it is, when you do that consistently over time, you're able to accomplish incredible things. Like, so when I first met Eddie over 10 years ago, he was just doing the chiropractic stuff. And now he's doing all this other stuff, right? Because like that sequential investment of your time into you really compounds. and you end up doing incredible things. Like someone might look at Eddie now and be like, oh my gosh, he's up here. He's amazing. He does all this stuff. He wasn't always like that. No one was. Nobody, not a single person on this earth was. And so I don't want you to underestimate the importance of small blocks of time and investing into yourself that will result in huge, huge things over the long haul. Listen, yeah, go ahead.
One more thing I want to say about this, because I think listeners would benefit from this, is this. When you invest in yourself, when you take time for yourself, whatever it might be, that time, in a way, I would say gets compressed where you can do a lot more. That makes any sense. Like, think about people who invest in themselves, who pour into themselves, whether it's health or whatever, all of a sudden they seem like they're doing a lot more in life. They can accomplish a lot more. There's something that happens there that when you do this first, you can hit a lot more stuff. So I just encourage all of you to go and learn it's a morning routine, whether it's one thing every day, do something for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, listen, if you guys enjoyed this, if you love this episode, if you want to share it, we would love for you to leave us a review, to tell your friends about it, to tell your neighbors about it, like whoever it is. Give us a thumbs up. And if you'd like to be part of the conversation, come on over and join us in our Life in Your Clothes Facebook group. This is the positive side of social media. It's the uplifting, encouraging community of Life in Air online in an easy to access format where you can rub shoulders with other Life in Airs and be part of the conversation and help each other live and accomplish your vision. We'll see you next week, everyone. Take care.